I just updated the Panasonic GH6 to firmware 2.2, and that firmware update added the ability to record to an external SSD via USB-C. And so I did. I used one of these Samsung T5s to record 5.7K 30 frame per second ProRes HQ. And it did so fine. It filled up this 1 terabyte drive, and it just so happened that this filled up at almost the exact same time as the battery died. Now, that's really great because there was no problems recording such a high bitrate, such a high resolution, because it has nice active fans. And even after that time, the fans were silent because I had it in the mode that prioritized silence or low noise. And then only after 10-15 minutes did the fans become ever so slightly audible in this very quiet room. So what got me thinking today was, why do an external SSD recording instead of the internal SD card or CFexpress? So right now, CFexpress is about 5 times more expensive per gigabyte than an SSD like this. And usually that's because you need a really fast read and write speed from the CFexpress card. And the thing is, this SSD worked fine with the 5.7K 30 frames per second ProRes, and it can do, this is the T5, the T7 can actually do 8 gigabit per second. Now, we don't know if that is sustained 8 gigabit, because a lot of times, due to the actual internal chip and compression used for each SSD, they state, let's say, 8 gigabit, but then after 5 minutes, it actually goes a lot further down, maybe like, say, 6 or 4 gigabit per second. And that's what you're paying for the CFexpress cards, which allow sustained high bit rates. Now, to put that into perspective, that 5.7K ProRes was only 1.9 gigabit per second. And if you look at the 8K 120 frames per second VRaptor raw footage, that tops out at 6.4 gigabit per second. And you're not going to be doing any higher res or higher frame rate than that. So if that doesn't change your mind or my mind or get me thinking, this does. So this is the SSD, and this is the actual chip, the memory card inside this SSD. And this chip is just about the exact same size, but 1/5 the price. So you can start seeing why people are kind of up in arms about these prices of CFexpress cards and why they want the feature to record to an external SSD like you can do with the Blackmagic 6K camera and the Sigma FP. Now, yes, 1/5 of the price sounds really good, but I will say this, even at that, it's really annoying and a little frightening when you're recording to have an SSD hanging off of it, because that USB-C cord is really fragile. And if you bump it ever so lightly, not only are you going to break the cord and maybe your SSD card, but if you break that USB-C port inside the camera, uh, well, you're hosed. And 'cause that, like on the GH6, that USB-C port allows charging and data transfer and recording externally. So if that breaks, can't really sell the camera or use it to its full extent. And that would be a shame, now wouldn't it? And that's the exact same reason why I've never been a big fan of these HDMI external recorders like the Atomos Ninja or Ninja V or Ninja V Plus, because HDMI 2 is a really fragile port and you don't want that breaking.